Hey guys, so it's Friday morning the 24th. Happy birthday, Gary Gartrell. Been a good friend of mine on the journey through this. Great man. He's a gentleman that turned me on to Casa Kane County in Illinois, Woodstock, Illinois, and a fabulous organization called Hero Flight Chicago. And so Gary, happy birthday to you. Hope your family takes care of you like I'm sure they will. I normally don't walk and do my morning videos like I am right now, but I'm doing that today. So a recap of yesterday was pretty amazing. I woke up in the morning, slept on a concrete patio, and slept so good. Something about those campsites and natural air was amazing. Went down to the fishing stream with Joe and Kelsey, watched them catch some fish. We headed back up to the camper. Tracy just came from back home. We had breakfast, and I got to kind of say my goodbyes to these nice folks. And then after that, weather was a problem. No real town between Lebanon and Springfield, so they said, look, we're going to get you to town, kind of whether you like it or not, when I kind of fight them on things. And they got me into Springfield, and they were going to drop me off at Bass Pro Shop. And the reason we're going to do that is we had reached out to them at one point and asked them to, again, you're talking about goodness in the world. Here's a company that just grew in leaps and bounds. I'm sure does a lot of charitable things. And I was hoping to meet with the group there, give a kind of a behind-the-scenes look at some of the things that they do that we just don't expect. We see a big box department store and outdoor store, and really don't know a lot that goes on behind the scenes, so I wanted to highlight that. Some folks on my behalf reached out. I reached out myself yesterday, left a message, didn't get much return. On the way though, as I go into towns, as you know, I like to recognize our veterans. I'm trying to raise money for the DAV as well as St. Jude's Children's Hospital. And so as I was going to the town, looked up the VFW in town, and they closed at 2 o'clock. So I asked Joe and Trace if they minded dropping me off closer to the VFW. And they did, and again, somehow somebody up above is taking this journey for me and making it pretty simple and easy. So I got in the town, and there wasn't many people in the VFW, but I went in and met a couple people, but I met the commander, not of the VFW itself, but the commander of the DAV, the Disabled American Veterans. And I got to meet Bob and talk with him, and I asked him kind of, can you tell me, to the person that hasn't served, the person that's just a general Joe on the street, what can you tell me about DAV? They wanted to tell me, among the many things they do, is they have 7 vans, and they drive at no charge veterans to their hospitals and doctors for the medical treatment that they're needed. And they have 6 vans that run Monday through Thursday. Friday they do the maintenance. And he said they have 6 hospitals, or 7 vans, about 6 hospitals, in the area. And when I asked where the area was, I had to laugh because he said, I'll remind you, I'm in Springfield, Missouri right now. So he goes down to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and up to St. Louis, Missouri, because that's where I guess the doctors that are needed are. Some of the bigger hospitals. Well, these aren't just around the area. Around the area to me is 15 miles as the crow flies. And then the drivers that do this also all volunteer. So that's just a small sampling of what they do. Bob had served in the Vietnam War, and I talked about not just the physical maladies these guys suffer, but what kind of emotional depression, what things they battle. And Bob can only speak for himself and said, yeah, I've been battling PTSD myself for a long time. It's worse than now when you try to go to sleep. Your mind starts racing, it's quiet. And he said it got to the point where he takes 2 prescribed pills and 2 over-the-counter pills to help him sleep, just to sleep. And I thought about that for a minute. And for all of us out there, like I said, I'm whining about sore knees last night on my walk back here, about a mile over that hill over there. I was calling somebody, trying to have her coach me through this last mile because my legs were hurting so bad. These guys have PTSD for years. I asked Bob, when these things started with him. About 1967. I'm 50 years old. I was born in 1967. Imagine suffering with something for 50 years. I couldn't. And it's something that really I don't think has any kind of cure for. So that's got to be kind of crazy. So just to experience that with them was pretty neat. Not pretty neat at all, but neat to be exposed to that, to understand it, to get an understanding and share that with you. So I met Bob, but they were closing quickly. And then I had the privilege, I went across the street, I saw this building, it looked like an old firehouse to me. And now it's a bar. And I said, well, let me head over there. It was raining out. I didn't want to walk in the rain, not knowing where I was going just yet. Develop a plan. Didn't know what kind of, the crowd was going to be inside. And I walked in, and sure enough, it was an old firehouse. An amazing building, and it's called Crazy Hats in Springfield, Missouri. And the Hats is the H&T because Harry and his girlfriend Tarina are the proprietors, and great people. And I had an interesting day there. I'll leave some of that for the book. But as the small crowd got thicker, this gentleman walked in with a young lady. I think they worked together, or she was helping him find some work, something like that. I don't remember exactly. But we started talking, and before I was just minding my business, Tarina, really impressed with what I said, she reached out to local news to tell them what I was doing. I didn't know anything about that. She just stepped outside and did that. Anyway, she says, hey, you guys got to meet this amazing guy, Jim, over here. So as any happy-go-lucky soul would do, I said, well, what's so amazing about him, right? And she started to tell him about my journey, and normally I don't even tell people I grew up in New York. I guess maybe this came up because of my accent in this particular neck of the woods. Normally I just came from Pennsylvania. But she said, well, he lived in New York, and before she can get another word, Tony stopped her and said, wait, hold on a minute, where in New York? And I said, Long Island, West Islip. He's like, no shit. He said, I grew up in Brentwood. And then I said, no shit, because I actually was born and grew up in Brentwood too. I left Brentwood for West Islip in 1979 after my dad passed. So I said, where'd you live? And it turns out he lived about 3 blocks away from me. So as we start talking, I'm saying, if you live 3 blocks away from me, there's a pretty good chance we went to the same school or close to it. I said, what school did you go to? He said, I went to Ross. I said, that's the high school. I was gone by then. What elementary school? So he said, Laurel Park, my elementary school. What year did you graduate? Same year I graduated. So I said, who was your 6th grade teacher? He said, Mr. Crane. And I said, well, guess what, Tony? We were classmates in 6th grade. So here I walk, I don't know, between 800 and 900 miles. I got a ride a little bit yesterday, so I don't know how much I've actually walked to that 900 now. It's probably about 820, 840. Anyway, so here in the middle of Springfield, Missouri, at a small little bar called Crazy Hats, I meet my 6th grade classmate. And like I said, I couldn't make this stuff up. So that was the afternoon. And they left shortly thereafter, and I made my way. I didn't have a place yet. It was early enough in the night that I could have really kept trying to work the gym mojo, but it's been odd here in Missouri that people have been either locals have gotten me a room to crash in, or some folks that believe in me from the journey have offered to get me a room. And I don't like doing it. I don't feel like it's a part of the story. I really do. Why I'm doing this, I really love, and I got lost with that, which is why I'm doing the journey, but I love to be people. And it loses a little something, but there's also something to be said for somebody, reaching out and showing the humanity to make sure I'm not sleeping out in the rain like it was wet last night. I didn't know the area. I didn't have a good game plan. And Margie Jacobs, so bless your soul, reached out to me and said, hey, I want to take care of you, get a room tonight. So she did that. And I have a hard time wrapping my hands around that, because that's not what this journey is about. But at the same time, many people have reached out to me and said, no, Jim, you're missing the point. That's exactly what this journey is about. You're carrying a message for a lot of us that we believe in you and what you're doing, and we want to make sure that you're taken care of. So maybe that in itself is the story, and I just can't seem to process that so well. So anyway, I had about a 5.5, 6 mile walk to the hotel, which is not a bad deal. Again, when you're walking as much as I am, 6 miles is 2.5 hours, depending on how many times I stop. But I headed over, but it started to get dark, and that's when it got a little dicey. As it got dark, it was funny, I had a little moment right over here. You can see there's just kind of a little big hill that crests over the highway, or over the railroad tracks back over there. But I looked at my phone, and I thought I was only, it said like I was a mile away or 3/4 of a mile away. I saw that traffic light right over there, and said, well, that's probably where I'll be staying, because I didn't see anything else in the dark. I couldn't really see anything over that bridge, and kind of this was the end of the road. Well, when I got there, I said, oh, I still had another half mile to go. And anyway, also along last night, I passed by where I'm sitting out in front of right now, these radio stations, and the place seemed closed down last night. But I said, if I was just a morning DJ in Springfield, Missouri, and I don't know the business that well, but if someone just came to happen by and had a pretty decent story, I might try to give them some airtime and just learn about who they are. And yesterday I kind of went off for a little bit of a rant about TV, because the answer that Tarina got from the news organization was basically, you know, hey, if you let me know ahead of time, we could have done something. And that frustrated me, because we've let everybody know ahead of time where we're going, and it seems like nobody wants to talk to me till we get into town, and not cover me when I'm walking in, but cover me, and it's always on the way out the door. And so it's kind of frustrating. But it turned out, and I thought it was a beautiful lesson of this journey, that maybe I went off half-cocked, and a gentleman reached back and very civilly gave me an education, and everybody else that's on the website, an education that basically says, hey Jim, here's how it works, man. But he didn't sit there and say, hey, jackass, and shut your mouth, and you don't know what we do and how hard we do it and things like that. He very civilly gave me an education and about how it works and why it works the way it does. And you know, I do pride myself on preaching what I talk, which is point the thumb. So I had to point the thumb at myself and say, hey man, you know, I'm sorry I went off half-cocked there, and I appreciate you educating me and letting me know. But the thing I really took from that was, you know, we're human beings first, and if you feel you're being criticized or attacked, our first response is to kind of push back. So again, this guy sat there and said something which might have been very valid and said, hey jackass, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, you should shut up unless you know, or something just kind of worse than that, kind of ignorant. I might have shot back not so civilly either, and it would have gotten this little pissing contest. And that's what I see too many times, specifically on the internet, but in life in general. Nothing is deemed to be constructive criticism these days. Everything seems to be criticism. Even in my own home, sometimes with my kids, I'll tell them something to try to build them up, and they kind of, you get to see the body language shrink up, like I'm tearing them down, and I'm not. I'm trying to build them up, actually, and it's a challenge that we all have. But as we get older, we don't shrivel up. We fight back. We point the finger back, and we get in this finger pointing contest. So I appreciate. I don't know if it was Ralph. I don't have the cameras on me now on my phone. So anyway, but I appreciate him reaching out to me. I'm trying to think what else took place yesterday. Oh, Tarina gave me a call and said, hey, if you need that ride to Joplin, I got you. It was very cool of her to offer that. I don't know if I'm going to take that or not, but we'll find out. Oh, I did have one moment. Tarina, before I left, said, hey Jim, I want you to go to the VFW. There's a lot of cars over there. And I said, well, Tarina, I was over there earlier, and they're having a bingo thing. And you know, bingo folks are like the gaming kids I met the other night in Rolla. You know, they want to focus on what they're there to do. They don't care about me and my story. But she said, well, let me call up. And she called up Al. And I think his name's Al. I want to get, again, I don't have my phone in front of me. But he's the commander of the whole, you know, post. And I had spoke to him during the day. So I did want to go over and say thank you for you know, his service, and thank you for what he's done for, you know, me in the journey, and letting me come over there early in the day and meeting Bob. Bob is the VFW commander for DAV. Anyway, well, I got there, he met me, shook my hand outside a little bit, said, come inside real quick. And I guess they were having some meeting of some sort, so there was about 30 people. And he said, this guy's name is James Smith, and he's walking across America trying to change the world a little bit, and in doing so, trying to help raise some money for us folks. And he said, Jim, why don't you tell these folks a little bit about what you do? And I just took a brief moment to share my concept about pointing the thumb, not the finger. And it was received very, very well. He didn't have to do this, and he did it, but there was one gentleman that was sitting back, and it's an older group at the VFW, and this gentleman, I don't want to be I would guess 70, maybe even older, I don't know. But he was sitting back, leaning back in his chair, and he must have said 3 or 4 times, and it stuck with me as I walked through back home here. He said, this is what this country needs right now. This is what the country needs. And again, I'm just a guy walking, but if I can affect 5 people at a VFW, if I could affect 2 people at Crazy Heads, if I could affect somebody at a radio station or a listener, if I get that opportunity, then it's the motivation. It keeps telling me what I'm doing is right. So that man's words stuck with me, something fierce. So that was one of the highs that helped me get back to the hotel, to keep doing what I'm doing and get some rest and get back at it again today. So I love you guys. I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to try and see what happens here at this radio station and talk to these folks, and then I'm going to get finished getting cleaned up. I got some washing to do today. I even want to get a haircut, I think, today. I'm starting to look a little haggard. And then I want to make my plans and get up to this, you know, when you walk places and things are 6-7 miles across town, it's not so easy like when you're home and go, well, I want to do this errand and that errand and that errand. Those errands sometimes take 2 or 3 hours when you're walking. It's one of the things I learned about this journey. So I love you guys. Kira, Landon, someone's getting old tomorrow, Kira. Grace, I love you guys, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks for following. Take care, guys.